Good morning, dear fellow humans. Hello to those of you joining us out in internet land. How we greet each other is of significance, and a few weeks ago we had an hour and a half long presentation by a couple of our community members on how to create a trans LGBTQ welcoming community. And it was really fascinating. And so I've been interested in this complication, this enriching of our culture that's happening. And we were out to dinner last night, my wife Jennifer and my son, Adrian, our son, and he's 15, I think, 15 soon. And after we ordered our meal, we sat down and Jen said to him, I think the person who served us was trans. And his response was so beautiful. It makes me teary and hopeful for the next generation. He said, "Why does it matter?" So to greet one another, it's like, hello, fellow human. We are all so utterly similar to each other, and we have these strange peculiarities about what we like on our spaghetti, or who we happen to fall in love with, or what our identification is. And so one of our tasks is to become loving, and in the words of Achan Sumedho, one of my very important teachers this lifetime, love means there's room for everything. I heard him say that, and it stuck. It's like, there's room for everything. And so in our meditation, love means there's room for everything. However we find ourselves in this moment, there's room for it. And so that starts the practice of ahimsa, of nonviolence, in the very moment of our perception that, there's this, there's a lot of sadness, or there's anger, or there's fear, or there's jealousy, or there's hatred. Oh, look at that. Wow, that's in me too. And then as we can do that, we're able to do that with others. And then we live in a loving world. So when we greet each other, it's, hello, dear fellow humans. How did you get stuck in this body? I mean, how are you doing in it? How are you doing with this lifetime? It's challenging, isn't it? So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to, if you wish, turn and speak with a neighbor. It's interesting the way the feedback comes back slowly about things like this. There are some folks among us, probably here today, who just really don't want to talk to the person beside them. It's like, ugh. And not because of the person beside them, but because this is the wrong moment for that, right? Or it's just, my social anxiety is such that it's just unbearable. So then when I say, if you'd like to just remain silent, I mean it. Right? We don't have to have a tyranny of the group. That our practice, one of my Sufi teachers said, our intention is to practice spiritual liberty. And so in this next few moments, if you'd like to just stay quiet, just stay quiet. If you would, on the other hand, like to say hello to your neighbor, share your name, and tell them one thing you're enjoying in your life these days. Simple. Or not. If you're not enjoying anything, just complain for a minute or two. So please, let's just take a couple of minutes to form this web. And please, if this is the wrong moment to connect, don't. Good. Go.
How are you?
I'm being listened to. Test 1, 2. There we go. Who's here for the first time today? Please raise your hand. Wow, welcome. Welcome doubly. Nice to see you. It's been forever. So we're going to sing a little song, a little chant. I take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and in the Sangha. Buddha means that in us which is awake. Dharma means what is, what we discover with this amazing consciousness. And Sangha means community. So there's us here in this room, a little local community, and we're part of the big community of all life. And we all come and go. We get born and we go through somebody training, extensive somebody training. We relate to each other, we get along, we don't get along, and then we disappear. So these chants are about remembering that great mystery. Please join in if you wish. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, when the unity of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. So, a bit of exuberant singing together that leads to doing nothing together. The ancient practice from over thousands of years. Hundreds of millions of people have done what we're about to do. To stop the somewhat frenzied attempt to find satisfaction through activity. To notice that there really is life here. The body sits here. You really are alive. You really belong here. It's been a tough journey to get to here. But here we are, sitting. And this human incarnation comes with a body and awareness. And in our most fundamental training, the first meditative practice the Buddha is said to have taught has to do with coming into bare contact, bare attention with the actual sensations of the body. It sits here and it breathes. And this breathing creates sensations. And these sensations are a marvelous home base. You can notice that each breath comes out of nowhere. It doesn't exist, and then it begins. there is an expansion to fullness, and then a decline, and then a disappearance. And of course, there's also something else that comes with our human birth, which is the mind. And so it thinks. This mind is capable of doing what we call remembering the past and imagining a future. It's so good at it, actually, that most human beings can't tell the difference between when they're lost in mind, in emotion, in thought, in ideology, or when they're actually conscious in the present. And this inability to be here now is the root of a great deal of our suffering. So you'll notice thinking, maybe obsessing, maybe worrying, maybe planning, maybe excited about something to come or remorseful about something in the past. For the period of meditation, to the best of our ability, with no violence at all, we allow the world to be exactly as it is. And of course, some of the way the world is horrible. Some of it is very beautiful. For this moment, we just allow all the polarities to exist, and we inhabit that mysterious capacity that we call the Buddha, that which is awake. And so whenever you can, simply abide in the sensations of the body or the breathing. Rest here. Paul, from the internet comes the notice, no sound. Each breath has a beginning. These breaths have been coming for a long time now, coming and going. But each one is unique. There's a way the mind imagines a continuity, but in fact, even before the breath reaches fullness, the beginning is gone. There's nothing to improve. In attending to this breathing process, we go beneath the word breath. We go beneath I am breathing. Awareness meets sensations. That's enough. Sometimes the mind is so preoccupied with liking or disliking or restlessness or sleepiness or doubt or some emotion. She can hardly find the breath. Love means there's room for everything. So in this moment, the mind is very agitated, restless, worried. You don't have to stop it. You probably can't. But you assume this attitude of acceptance. Ah, yes, it's this. It's full of desire or disliking. It's this. And perhaps occasionally you can, in fact, return to the sensations of breathing. Not through violence, but through awareness, through kindness, through compassion. It's this breath right now. When we sit for a while, sometimes the body starts to hurt a bit or a lot. Sometimes it's discomforts that are related to sitting here, or what's coming up in the mind, or it's chronic discomfort. This isn't a mistake or an accident. But we learn to do the counterintuitive intervention, which is turn toward it, feel it, open to it. We could say, love it. Let there be room for everything. There's a lineage of practice coming out of Burma, the Mahasi Sayadaw tradition, where one uses the thinking mind to point at, to note, rising, rising, falling, falling, wandering, wandering, hearing, breathing in, breathing out, rising, falling, thinking, thinking, rising. You might try this sometime, see if it's helpful. At some point, for many of us, it begins to be difficult to sit, get restless, mind gets a bit resistant. And so one practice with that is to go a little longer, not a lot, just a little longer. To recognize that dukkha, that unsatisfactoriness. To see it for what it is, which is, this present moment isn't what I want. So can I bear it? Can I stay conscious in it? And taking stock now, what is your experience of this moment? A mind that's quiet or noisy? There's pleasure probably somewhere in your body, discomfort or pain somewhere else. Is there a lot of mindfulness, a lot of knowing what's happening? Or is the mind quite lost in delusion, fantasy land? Is there fatigue, or perhaps brilliant awareness? Are there emotions? So please now, feel where your body makes contact with the cushion or the floor. Notice the life, the tingling, vibrating mystery that is this that you take to be your body. The hands, the arms, the face. It's quite something. And become particularly aware of your eyes. Let your eyes move around inside their beautifully lubricated orbit, the socket. And then notice the intention to let them open. And then after a little while, see what happens. If that intention is operationalized, acted on. Watch as seeing is born. There wasn't seeing, and then there is seeing. There's objects. Seeing. And then you might like to move just a little somehow. Let yourself feel how it is to move. Back. Well, we lost one of our bright sparks. Mary Oliver died. Today's Dharma talk is going to be a Mary Oliver poem, and then someone carrying the talking object if someone wants to make a comment or share something about that poem. This is just a little foretaste. Why Mary Oliver? How many of you are not familiar with Mary Oliver? Oh, wonderful. Well, you have so much ahead of you. It's incredible. Mary Oliver, I think, had Buddhist training. Doesn't matter if she did. She saw the world clearly, very minutely, very precisely. What to do with the upwelling of feelings. I've shared this poem with 100 people, maybe, mostly on retreat, but not always. People sitting on a precipice or standing on a precipice and knowing, they know they have to do something, but they can't quite get there. Who knows what the poem is? You'll recognize it. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, while the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do. Though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible, it was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company, as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. There was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. Thank you, Mary Oliver. So Jim is going to lead us in some movement, if he can move. There, just so he come out of the trance. And then we'll have a few announcements, and then I'll be back and we'll bask in some Mary Oliver. There's about 8 or 10 different poems that I've used on retreats for decades, actually, that the Buddha could have written, actually, I think. So, yeah, thank you. And I'm wired. Oops. No. No.
So here we stand, contact with the floor, touching in with the rhythm of the breath. And we can see the rhythm if we open our arms a little bit and release the distance between the hands, and then watch the hands part and come back. And we can add a little sinking and rising. The whole body breathing. All the cells receiving new energy. And then releasing what they don't need back to the earth. And once more. Releasing, moving over to one side and engaging one foot, just realizing how well coordinated the ankle, the leg, the hip, the shoulder. We're upright, but we're off balance. And then move that center of gravity over to the other side and pause. An intelligence in the body emerges into a new asymmetrical balance. So let's sink, and we'll do a symmetrical balancing act here. Full breath in as we rise and release. Lifting, opening, returning to the center and sinking. I just remembered the name of a book by Mary Oliver. It's called Blue Horses. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Then reaching up overhead, we paint a rainbow sweeping across the sky. Relax the arms. Pause for a second. Pay attention to the breath again. Is it deeper? We can make it a little deeper. Sink and cross the wrists. Come up the center. And then separate the clouds. It's very difficult work. But it does fill all the little nooks and crannies in the lungs. And then turning to the side, palms up, the back hand pushes forward, front hand moves in, and then reverse. Back hand pushes, the other hand's oriented up. And then draw your arms back, circle, biggest circle you can easily fall into. No stress, no strain, just softly rolling the shoulder sockets. And then we'll go back to asymmetry. We'll just get the one hand on the opposite side of the body, up and then down, bringing the heel up with us, feeling the foot that has the weight, engage, and then release. The other side engages and releases. How do we know how to do that? How many hours did we practice when we were 2 and 3 years old? Turning, gazing at the moon. We'd never learn to walk if we practiced 20 minutes a day. That's a sobering thought. Why do I think 20 minutes is a long time? Pressing across, feeling engagement over here, and back to the other corner. Just riding on a relaxed breath, feeling the joints soften. And if they're not soft enough, we can add to it with some visualization. Here's a cloud that rises and a shadow on the earth, and as the shadow follows the cloud across, there might be more ease, more softness in some of the joints. Identifying with a cloud or a shadow changes the mood, changes the sensations in the body. We influence the sensations with skillful thoughts. I guess that's what Mary Oliver did. Came into her body more and more deeply with skillful thoughts. All right, stretch out and splash in the sea. And the mood changes with larger movements. And riding the waves, we can hear how the building itself is breathing. Opening the arms, palms up, coming forward, palms down. All right, back to the center, we'll pause. Balance, symmetry, relaxation. What's the mood? And then step out and watch the mood change. Riding the waves. opening the arms. Palms up, palms down. And back to the center. Stillness, balance, relaxation. Make a fist and let the dragon rise from the sea. Then spread the wings and fly with the cranes, the eagles, herons. Then turn the wheel. And if you're making contact with somebody, it's a blessing. It's not an attack. The other direction. Okay, now back to the center. A little challenge. One arm, one knee. Bouncing a ball as we walk down the street. I saw a little guy about 3 feet high doing this with a basketball the other day. Amazing. And then back to the center. Breathe in and release. New energy. Release tension, stress. Then coming to stillness again. Notice how the nervous system is still alive, and a sense of movement arises from the body out of stillness. It's like a river of sensation continues to flow. You can feel the pulse in different parts of your body, perhaps. Your hands feel like you're wearing gloves, perhaps. Tingling here, tingling there. The flow of the energy through the whole body. That's one more time. Sink and go out to the side and down the center. And once more. And we haven't had a Qigong workshop this month, and won't have one on the third Saturday of February, because there's something else going on. Maybe we can do something on a Sunday, like at 1:30 on the 24th. Let me work on that. Thank you.
Nope. Good morning, Sangha. Whoa, that's loud. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, forgot this. So, going to do something a little different. And I got to tell you, I'm feeling a little off today. I'm feeling a little weepy and just sort of distracted, and I'm not exactly sure why. And it makes me think about the fact that in 30 years of working life that I've had, I always got this message that the part of me that feels and the part of me that works were two separate things, and the part of me that feels was not welcome at work. I don't know how many of you have had that experience. And it seems to me that they do matter. The way that I feel mixes in with what I do, and so I'm mentioning that because it matters. That's all. Doesn't add to the announcements, but it's just important to recognize it. That's all. So, they said there's a new sheriff in town, so there's going to be a new way of doing announcements. Rather than having your eyes glaze over as I go through like just tons and tons of events that you're not remembering and you're not writing down, we're not going to do it that way anymore. I'm going to allow your eyes to glaze over with new reading material, which is this. So what's going to happen is when you come in from here on in, you're going to be offered one of these things, and it has all of the stuff that's coming up, and you can read it to your heart's content. It tells you where to go on the website in order to find out more. If you don't want it, if it's handed to you and you don't want it, then let's do our little bit to be kind to the earth and put it back on the table rather than ripping it up or doodling on it. Just let's reuse it. And this should keep you all up to date with what's going on. And for you folks who are online, I'll post this on the latest talk thing so that you can click on it. So there are things that are coming up, and the things that I would like to highlight just briefly is that we have a volunteer retreat coming up with Robert next Saturday. I got overwhelmed with things, and I did not do as well as I would have liked in terms of getting the word out earlier, but I'm letting you know now. If you volunteer, how many of you volunteer here or have volunteered? If any of all of you would be welcome to the retreat. If you have not volunteered before and you would want to attend the retreat, then talk to Kirsten. Kirsten, where are you? Kirsten is not here. All right, she's downstairs. All right, so then talk with Kirsten or contact her and then sign up to be a volunteer.